Hi folks, Will at LR Workshop. Thought I'd bring up to speed on some of the stuff I was working on with this Defender from Armenia last year, because this building was being built and I didn't have time to film this stuff. It basically delayed all the work I had to do on this one, but I did a lot of stuff and some of it's quite interesting actually. So you might find it interesting as well. And some of it, I'll be looking for your advice as well. So I basically did everything, combined a lot of stuff to begin with. So I was doing timing belt, which meant I could replace the coolant. And basically it was tricky because it did have coolant in it and you never quite know what exactly is in it, but all Defenders after 1999 moved to Texaco XLC, which is OAT Coolant. That's including these. So 7 years after they made that change, this Defender would have had it from the factory. And Texaco XLC is now obsolete because as of 2023, the ingredient in it, 2-EHA, has been banned in the EU and therefore UK as well. I don't know if it's banned in the UK, but banned in the EU is enough for all the manufacturers to change what they do. And this is the superseded part, EGX, Texaco EGX. There is a Land Rover part number for it as well. So this is what I used. I gave it a good flush before it came out. Anyway, I did do a video about OAT and non-OAT IAT coolant, but I'm pretty happy to put that in because that's what it should have had most of its life. And it's pretty corrosion free actually. The radiator looks very clean and nice. So one of the benefits, you know, a lot of the ones, you know, Mike in Canada has done a lot of Africa Defenders from Malawi and Ghana and stuff, and they've got horrendous corrosion, particularly on the aluminium parts, the front of the engine. But this one's lived in a frosty environment, you know, Armenia and Georgia, so it's had antifreeze in it through its life, so that's good. So I flushed it all the way through and a bit of dirt came out. Coolant drain plug is quite interesting because that is a different one than my 97 300 TDI, but it's the same part number, so they've changed the design there, but the part number's actually stayed the same, so that's quite interesting. This had a plastic plug and that rounded, and I put a plastic plug on here, so that's actually the one from there. I was hoping to go back to plastic plugs, but just for an OEM look. Anyway, and I replaced this hose on the front, which had a bit of a bodge. The one went down here. I managed to pick up a genuine one, a bargain genuine one, so that's now replaced, getting rid of that. Yeah, so timing belt, I'll talk about the rest in a minute, but timing belt was interesting. It's timing belt, coolant time, and definitely a good time to be changing the belt. Look at the state of that. No idea how long it's been on there. I think it's definitely been changed once. All these bolts are pretty rusty, abnormally for the rest of the vehicle, so I reckon they've had older ones put in, and that one's missing. That one wasn't in there, so it's definitely been changed in the past. 112,000 miles. Should have been changed at least twice. Scuffing on the edge. These are the bolts. Rusty, rusty, rusty. There's a lot of them have got powder. Very powdery. But yeah, hell of a lot of fluff in there. That's the most I've ever seen on all my vehicles. I've been cleaning all the fluff out. Look at the cam timing. There's basically one tooth out. I've checked that for my photos and I haven't moved this, and you can't, pretty much can't move that, unlike this one. And this was slack when I undid the belt, so it's probably been out one tooth. So I've done the rotation, second tensioning. Everything's torqued up, that goes in and out. Interesting, there's a gap there, not a gap there, that's flush. Right, we're going to go for a start, first start after the new timing belt. It's not been put back together fully yet, but the crank damper's on, no coolant, no ancillary. And it runs. very good. So it obviously been done before. They'd been buggered around with the timing. The front crank pulley had obviously been levered off. The crank pulley itself was quite stiff and rough on the inside, so it was quite difficult to get the crankshaft damper pulley on and off. It's interesting the belt's running too far forwards. I think Mike in Canada, BritRS Mike, has done analysis that it might be the casing is warped a bit. If people have over tightened the timing belt, the tension on the timing belt, it might warp the case. I didn't test that at the time. It's a possibility. It's certainly, the most fluff I've ever seen on a timing belt on all of my vehicles. And I compared the components. I keep, basically every time I do a timing belt, I just keep all the bits, because the next time you do it in 5 to 10 years, you will have forgotten what things are like. But this one seems to run forward a little bit. I don't know what you guys think, if you've got any commentary on that, but it's certainly, running on the front edge of the pulley, and it's wearing down, which is really unusual to me, because I would have thought, these vehicles should have been pretty solid when it comes to that, because they're so far away from, these would have had the modification from the factory, unlike my 97 Defender. So yeah, that was quite interesting. I'm not worried about it kind of going bang in the short term, but certainly I'm going to monitor it from the, looking for fluff in the bottom of the wading hole in the timing case. But it was good to take the radiator out. I always take the radiator out, really, try and do the coolant and flush it out at the same time as doing the timing belt, because it's very easy from the top. It's very easy to get the timing case, the camshaft pulley misaligned. It's only when you come right the way down. So from the top, it did look right. And then when you come down, that's when you see it's a tooth out. So it would have been changed quickly in the past by just working in here without taking the radiator off. But a lot of witness marks. The idler or the tensioner had the idler had been fitted into it wrongly, and it crimped down onto the bracket and left marks there. One of the bolts was missing from the timing case. The crankshaft pulley mud shield is really mashed up and what have you. So yeah, it's definitely been mashed around with before. But I'm hoping the timing case is not going to be, or the timing belt problem is not going to be really a long-term thing. One thing I noticed was the oil pump, the flats on the oil pump looked very rounded. That looked odd to me. So I don't think there's any oil pressure problems in this one. Certainly the light doesn't come on. Something I'll have to monitor or just have a think about that. But this engine might be due a rebuild. It's had a hard life. And because I took the radiator out, it gave me a good chance to wash it all out. So there was a hell of a lot of crud in the fins. If you remember back in my journey from Armenia, right up underneath, I only could see it from underneath, but there was a lot of mud, probably 10%, 15% of the radiator was just caked. Well, actually it was a lot more than that. There was a hell of a lot of mud in there that I was able to wash out. And also in the condenser here, a lot of insects and what have you in here, so that was good to get that all washed off. Interesting what I found here, these rivets are all completely vibrated through. So this thing being off-road, it vibrated the hell out of these rivets, so I'm gonna have to replace those. And also on here on the kind of clamp that protects the bonnet cable. Radiator mounts right at the bottom on the chassis, they were very, very ovaled and a hell of a lot of play in them. And when I put the new bushes on, the play actually went down quite a bit. You can see one of the bushes here, so they are very, very worn through. One thing I discovered, which I've never really thought about before, is these bushes are the ones that go here. There's only a part number for those that I can find, and these are the ones at the bottom, the two at the bottom, and they're different than these ones because these are circular in the center and these are square in the center, and these are wider as well, wider than these ones. There's a part number for that, there's a part number for that, but I've never been able to find a part number for these, which they're tapered, and they're actually the same dimensions. It's just that it's got a taper on it, and that's what they came with from the factory, and that's what these are, but I've never been able to find a part number. So if anyone knows, that's the other difference, is that it's got a bit of a chamfer on these ones. That one doesn't. But anyway, if anyone knows what the part number is for those, I'd be interested to know. So the radiator is now nice and kind of solid now. It's really held quite nicely. I also replaced the aircon compressor belt. You look at that, actually you can see it's got Land Rover the remnants of a Land Rover logo on, so I reckon that's the original one. How, you know, so that's done, that did 18 years or so you can see how cracked it is. So that got replaced, and I discovered the fan belt tensioner pulley runs out of true. But I reckon what's happened with this is it's been put in a vise and squashed when someone's tried to replace or has replaced the bearing, and it squashed it. That's the only reason I can think that it bumps up and down. But anyway, I've put a new one on that I stole from another tensioner that I had. Even though it's very original, it does have evidence of people putting their marks on it. I also did valve clearances. They were very loose. Instead of being 0.2 is what they should be, they were 0.5 to 0.7 millimeters. So it didn't change anything about the rattliness of the engine or anything like that, but it's good to know they're done. And then top of the oil filter housing, tons of leaks around there. So I've done the O-ring in the thermostat itself, the O-ring in the pipe, and that's all cleaned up. And actually they were leaking. Actually, the oil pressure O-ring had completely gone, you know, triangular in cross section, and someone had put some kind of plastic around it to try and, I don't know, stop it leaking somehow, which obviously wasn't working. But I've since found the oil pressure switch has broken. The oil's coming down, you know, coming out of the connector at the end of it. So that's common where they fail. So I've got to replace the pressure switch as well. And finally, the interesting bit, which does need further investigation, the intercooler. I flushed the intercooler with petrol. It took 6 flushes to clean this out completely, and what came out was not great. Lots of shards of metal and bits and pieces, crud, but yeah, a lot of flaky bits of silvery metal. So yeah, that points to this little thing down here. So I'm gonna have to take the end off and take the pipe off and see what the play's like. So I've just had the pipe off, and maybe you can see that those blades are very chewed up. So they're not really going to be compressing as much air as it could do. In terms of play, it's very difficult to be able to show you this. I can move it when I've got both fingers. I'll have to check it with my other vehicles. It feels quite a lot. And interestingly, got some, it's been rubbing on the battery positive. It's not gone through, but it's got quite a groove in it. So that's good to know as well. Feels quite a lot when you're doing it. You could say, oh, a millimetre, but it's probably not as much as that. Told me about Fluff. And a lot of metal shavings in the intercooler, the turbo's blunted blades, and there's a bit of play in the turbo. So I'll be interested in the collective wisdom of all of you, what you think. Ticking time bomb or just slightly underpowered for the moment. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye for now.